Good afternoon, and today I am making an old Kentucky nut cake. Okay, so you need two 9-inch layer pans. If you don't have that, you can do a 9 by 13, so don't worry about it. We have to grease and flour each of these, whichever one you do. Oh, let me get you higher. You're gonna need it. So we'll be doing a lot of things before we get ready to actually make the cake to make sure that it's already set and in motion. So if you have a 9 by 13, by all means grease and flour it. If you don't know how to flour it, it's the same way you grease two 9-inch cake pans. You're going to put a thin coat because of what we're going to have to do with this. Okay, now we're getting ready to flour these that we've greased. I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to take about a tablespoon of flour. I'm going to tilt you down so you can see what I'm doing, so don't worry. You won't be left in the dark, as they say. Okay, watch this. I'm turn you at an angle so you can see this part. You see how I'm rolling it? How's that? Isn't that neat how that does it? Now this one I'm going to do over the sink and just throw, no, I might as well put it here. This is a good place to put it and not waste it. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. See, everybody sprays everything, but nobody does anything. Another one done. That's how you grease and flour. Cake pans, 9 by 13s, or anything that says grease and flour, this is exactly what they want you to do. Okay, now let me get some other stuff and we'll move into another section of this cake. Okay. Now, flour used not to be sifted, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. It was so heavy. Everything, be biscuits, bread, cakes, cookies. We had to sift everything, but they sift the flour now, so it has a lighter texture, so we don't have to sift. So we need all-purpose. We're going to need 2 2/3 cups put in the bowl. And make sure your measures are level, because this is a cake. No, we sifted everything. I mean, before we even got started on anything, we were sifting constantly. I knew my mother's sister. I knew it very well. And so they've made it a lot easier in that aspect for us, which I don't mind, because I've tried sifting when they set it here with the flour, and the cake is so airy it collapses. So I know they've sifted it so much that you don't have to worry about that. You need 2 teaspoons of baking powder added to this flour. And you're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using regular salt because I know this will affect the flavor if I use the kelp. I've already done that. Now we're going to need one more thing. I am going to put a tablespoon of brewer's yeast into this to make sure there are some B vitamins and nothing but a bunch of starch for our system. Now we can add, we can add a tablespoon of powdered milk as well. But remember, as you add the powdered milk, what's going to happen? Hold on a minute. As we add the powdered milk, the cake is going to be a little darker than it should be. You can add 1 or 2 tablespoons. I'm going to add 2. And we're going to mix all this up together. Then we're going to put this aside. Now the yeast is not going to really be tasting because it's 1 tablespoon to almost 3 cups of flour, and the powdered milk, the same thing. It's not enough that it's going to affect anybody. All right, so take this and put it on the side. You are going to need 3 whole eggs. Put them on the side. Next to your stand, we're going to need a stand-up mixer for this. Just letting you know. Okay. Let me get the next section out and I'll be right back. Okay, you need 1 cup of milk, which I have, and you're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And you're going to put that to the side. As you see, everything's being put to the side because this is we're using a mixer, so we're getting everything ready. So it'll just be 1, 2, 3 instead of a whole bunch of other problems. Now, in your mixing bowl, we're using a stand-up mixer. You need, as you see, my butter's pretty warm. Does that tell you how warm the kitchen is? Very warm. We're going to need 1/3 of a cup of butter and 1/3 of a cup of shortening. And 1/3 of a cup of shortening is 5 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon. So that butter, we're going to add the shortening right now. If you don't believe me, it's right here. I already got 1/3 of a cup of butter. Now the reason you're mixing butter with the shortening is this cake needs some extra flavor, and that's why they want you to add, they're not 100% butter, but they just want you to add a 50-50 of the butter and the shortening, because the shortening has no flavor and the butter does. And we're going to add to this 1 2/3 cup of sugar to this. Now put your bowl to your mixer. Let's see, do we have everything? Let's see, we got the pans ready, we got the shortening and the butter and the sugar together, we got the 3 eggs sitting over there, we've got the dry, we got the liquid. We need 1 1/3 cups of walnuts chopped. That's all they say, so I can't tell you how fine. I don't think they want them too fine. I think they want them a little on the chunky side. That's a lot of nuts, 1 1/3. Just imagine how much good it's going to be. I'll pause you while I go dig them up. Okay, start chopping your nuts up. Back on the floor, I'm going to do this again. You always do the same. Okay, you're going to take about a 1/2 tablespoon of flour. And what you're going to do is throw it on these nuts and toss them in the flour. And the reason you're doing this is when you go to put it into the cake, the nuts are going to sink to the bottom. So what you want them to do is actually stay suspended. And dough is flour, and it will hold on to the flour that's around the nuts, which will hold them so you'll see the nuts all through it. Have you ever seen tea breads and cakes and stuff and everything sunk to the bottom? That's because this step is left out. And they don't teach it. It's a trick women learn. So as you can see, I tossed mine in flour. And now I've got to find room for you because we're going to go over to the mixer. So give me a minute. Okay, I have a KitchenAid, and this is the pedal you want to use. This is not a bread, and this is not whipping. This is actually a batter pedal. Put it in. Lock it up. I'll bring you down. This is the best I could do for you. So what we're going to do is we are going to cream this butter, shortening, and sugar. Just let it run. And you're going to turn your oven on to a moderate oven. And a moderate oven means 350 degrees. And if you take a look, I'll stop so you can see it. See how it's creamy? I'm sorry I can't do better than this. I'm really, really trying. I don't know if that makes it easier for you because I keep my mixer over here. Anyway, that's what we're doing. As you cream it, you'll notice it starts to get a lighter texture. And then what you're going to do, you're going to beat in 3 eggs. And you'll see how it starts to get fluffier and better. And as you beat this air in, this is going to help your cake rise as well. And they want it beat in thoroughly, so we'll be checking it after we put the eggs in before we go much further. See that mixture, how it's coming together really nice. Eggs from the store, they used to have to crack the eggs individually into a cup to make sure that they weren't, you know, with a chicken in it. A little can. Or a little birdie, if you wish to say. See, look at that texture. Isn't that a beautiful texture? Now what you're going to do is make sure it's mixed all the way down at the bottom as well. Yeah, women always rub their spatulas against it. Okay, now we're going to start adding flour, the flour mixture, and the milk mixture. Now you always start and end with the flour. Once it mixes in, you add some more milk. But remember, it has to stop and start with the flour. See how easy it is to make a cake? I just want to say fine, and that's what I thought you were going to say. How hard was that? That's how easy it is to make a cake. You're not doing it by hand. If you were, well, you'd have a lot of work ahead. Now going to just finish stirring this around, this last little flour that was on the mixer. Okay, let's get you over on the other side. Now here are our nuts. We're going to fold these in. Remember how I showed you how to fold them in? The people who don't know, you don't stir them in, you're folding them. You're folding it over, and this is exactly how you do it. And this is folding your nuts in. Okay, now we're going to divide it up. Try to bring it to the edge without touching the edge. Level it off to the best of your ability. Same thing with the other one. One seems to be a little higher than the other one. Just repeated paper all over here. If you're afraid you're going to get bubbles, too many bubbles, you can only do this once to each pan. Only take it up this much, about this much, and drop it. That'll bring the bubbles back up to where you don't have them in your cake. Because when you go in a contest, they want those bubbles uniform. If they catch one big one, you get knocked out of first place. Because they go on taste, look, and everything, so it's really difficult. Just letting you know what you have to do. These are going to cook for about 25 to 30 minutes, and I'll see you then. Okay, the cakes are supposedly done, but what we're going to do is take a toothpick and stick it in the center of it. And if it comes out dry, your cake is done. If it's wet, you have to leave it in, and you should be checking it every 5 minutes. Okay, cake. This cake is very moist still, so I'll be checking every 5 minutes till it's done. So when it's done, I'll be back. Okay, I have one done and the other one's not. So I'm gonna leave it in for a few more minutes. Let it sit in the pan 10 minutes before you put it out on a rack to cool and take it out of the pan, because if you take it out now, it's gonna stick because the dough hasn't quite set completely. Though you stick the toothpick in and it comes done, it doesn't have the shape to hold it until it cools. So 10 minutes, then you can take it out and put it on a rack and let it finish cooling. You know, New York City and the metropolitan area had a major, well, the whole northeast coast had a major earthquake. My stove was slightly off, but not a lot. But let me show you how bad it shook the house. I have never, ever, look how unlevel that cake is. See that? That's how much, literally, the house shifted. Everything is still running. That is a major shift. So now what I'm going to have to do is, I had two of them in there. So on the short side, I'll put the thick side on the second one so it'll level the cake off. This is what happens when you have earthquakes. It's going to unbalance things, and this is what you have to do. So anybody who has an oven that's not level now, just compensate. If it's thick here and thin here, the second layer you put on, make it thick here and thin here, and then it will level off. Okay? Okay, I'm going to have to turn you down for this so you see what I'm doing. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar in here. Put this aside and get another one, a smaller one. Okay, and into this we're going to add 1/3 cup of heavy cream. I'm just trying to get it up, see how much I have. Alright, you're going to pour it into the small saucepan. And with this heavy cream, you are going to add 6 tablespoons of butter. That's what I'm trying to count out right now, see how much I have. Okay. So, I got so many pieces here, you would not believe. I just want to make sure I get the right measurement, and that's what I'm trying to work on right now. Okay, so let's see, this goes here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, this is not going to be easy. I'm just going to push it all together and see what I come up with. 3, 4. Okay. Okay. All my pieces add up to 6 tablespoons. That's what happens when you do this cooking. You just grab a stick, you know. I can put this up for another day. Now for people who don't bake and don't understand the terminology, I'm going to give it to you. I know a lot of you who do make things already know these terminologies. But we have new people on the page who don't always know everything. Now this, the instructions read We're going to caramelize these 2 tablespoons of sugar, which we'll do in a bit. It wants us to scald the cream and butter, stirring until lumps are dissolved. Do you understand what they want you to do? When they say scald, they mean boil. That we used to have to scald the milk before. Well, we used it, but we don't have to do that now because it's been pasteurized. We're going to have to do that for this. So you're going to put it on a flame. Be careful. Do not burn that cream. It's important. Now, we are going to caramelize these 2 tablespoons of sugar that we put in this pan. You're going to have to stir it, and what it's going to do is it's going to melt, and you're going to, God, that is tacky. There, I'm going to get it all on. And what it does is it's going to start browning. You got to stir it to make sure that you don't burn it, because if you brown it too much, you burn it. But to caramelize, that's what we're going to do. And believe you me, I haven't done this in years. When I say years, I mean years. So I need a mat. You're sitting right where I want to put the pot when I do it. Okay. That's okay. Amber does it all the time. Okay. But we have to be careful with this sugar. You know how we made the candy and the sugar melted and crystallized? Well, we're going to take it a little further than that. So as it heats up, you're going to see that. And then we have a spoon for this other one over here. Don't you just love the way I dirty dishes? So we're going to scald the butter and the milk, heavy cream I mean. When they say just cream, they always mean heavy cream unless they specify that they want a light cream or something like that. But light cream is so easy to make. That's 1/3 cup of heavy cream and 2/3 of a cup of milk put together. So we have to wait. We're going to caramelize this, and then we're going to scald this, and then we're going to sit there and take the scalded butter and heavy cream, and we're going to put it in here and stir until the lumps are gone. So you know, and they say be careful, do not burn yourself. So you'll see this sugar starting to melt. It's almost like trying to make a candy, isn't it? I wonder if this cake is going to do that, and it's not going to be frosted on the side, it's just going to be the tops and the center. Let me see. Well, do you think I'm going to get it all of it? Okay, well, we'll try. Yeah, this should start melting soon because it is starting to get hot. But that's what they mean when they say caramelize, is actually you're going to brown the sugar. See, if you don't know what these terminology mean, you'd have to look each one of them up and try to figure out what they're talking about. This way you can actually see how it's done. Now, I'm warning you, if you're new to this channel of mine, I'm a terrible froster. I'm learning, but cakes have never been my forte at frosting. My mother could do it, I can't. But I work at it. But I get the flavor down. If nothing else, I can get that flavor down good. Point. Cakes are just about ready. That's why I started this. Sugar doesn't melt until it hits a certain temperature, so this pot's going to have to get way up there. Now I have scalded the heavy cream. Oh yeah, you heard it. Just turn it off. I scalded it already. on, sugar. I'm waiting for you. I can see that it's getting hot because of the way it's acting. It's starting to leave something on the bottom. All right, well, this is starting to melt. I'll be back when it get there. As you can see, the sugar is starting to lump up, so it's starting to melt. We're also going to need 3 cups of confectionery sugar. And I'll be right back. I have to go get my, oh, I can't think of the name of it. You'll see it. See how it's caramelizing? That's why they want the milk hot, because you're going to have to pour it in here. Because it's starting to turn brown. Let me turn this down to low, because I want to get this a little darker. See the color, how it's turning? If you use a high heat, it burns real quickly. That's why I do it this way. So you can actually control it more. On a low flame, it takes a little longer, but you don't have to worry about it burning. Because sugar does burn if you're not careful. Now see the color? Isn't that a nice color? That's the color they want. And you're going to pour all this in. I said stir until you get the lumps out of it. See the color of it? Isn't that nice and how you do it? I'm going to have to back you up. Okay, let me tilt you a little more. I have to look sometimes at you to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. Now you stir it till you get all the lumps out. And now you're going to add 3 cups of confectionery sugar. Some people know it as powdered sugar. You're going to stir in 3 cups. That's 1. I think they want to leave it on the flame, so I think I made a mistake there. I should keep it on the flame because it's all sugar, it's going to melt. They didn't say what to do, so some of this you are having to guess about. we want you to stir this until it's all incorporated. You didn't see beat it, they said stir it. And because confectionery sugar is sugar, I think that's what they want us to do, is do it on the flame, because this is too thick to spread, so it's going to have to melt some. This is where, if you don't know what you're doing in the kitchen or how you can work around it, you end up making mistakes. Personally, do not think this is going to frost the whole cake. I think it's going to go in the middle and on the top, and that's it. Okay, well, we'll get it hot. Let me put water in this. See, sometimes steps are left out and you have to work it. Let me turn it so you can see here better. You see, I'm getting it smooth now. I need to be able to spread this, work it, and get rid of all these lumps that I can see in it. Yep, so once you keep stirring until it's smooth enough where you can spread it. It's well incorporated. See how it's getting that way? So this is the hot frosting. It's going to chill as we do this. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is getting where I'm going to be using it in just a few minutes. So this one is definitely not one that's going to be, this is not going to be frosted on the side. This is hot. It's almost like a German chocolate cake, in the fact that you don't have a frosting running on the sides of it. It's going to be on the top and the bottom only. Low side is there, so I need the high side on this side. And that will level it. Because of that earthquake, it's a little lopsided. if you want to do the sides, you'd have to make another batch of frosting. But I'm not. But if you're in a contest and you want to do it, by all means, you know, I wouldn't discourage you. I would tell you, go ahead and go for it. And that's it. This is not a cake that has frosting on the side. It's mostly just on the top. And the frosting it hardens up in a hurry. So you have to work quickly. If you want to do it on the sides, you'd have to make a second batch. Okay? But here it is. That is it, a simple cake. So listen. As you see me doing this, I'm actually just cleaning the edges up some. That's all. So this is an old Kentuckian nut cake with a caramel frosting. So listen, you take care and have a great rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.